That's right, the red is back. Welcome to today's episode of The Art of Feeling Better. And the clue is most certainly in the title. And for those of you who know, I wrote myself a little book probably 4 or 5 years ago called The Art of Feeling Better, which was a collection of thoughts, ideas, and therapeutic models that I'd trained in and had been practicing for a number of years, just trying to collate everything together to try and provide some context and support for anybody who wanted it. And the name just came to me one day, so I thought, well, that's exactly what it is, and that's what people need to learn that art within themselves for how it works for them. And that kind of went forward when I decided to do this podcast. But let's use that name. That's what it says on the tin. This is what I want to do, is to try and just provide some topics and conversations, some wisdom from an amazing array of different people, different topics, different viewpoints, and some tips to help build a toolkit to help people just feel a little bit better. Because we are living through incredible but incredibly challenging times, and the whole point of this episode today is just to let you know that it's going to be okay. It doesn't feel like it, I know. And my Facebook feed is flooded, and the news is flooded with all kinds of unrest and upset and drama and conflict, especially the last couple of days with what's going on globally. But really what has been going on globally for a long, long time, and for me and many other people out there, is all part of the much larger narrative and the much bigger picture. And sometimes these things are separated out into parts, and when we're stuck in that fight or flight mode, we can't connect the dots and see the parts. Everything just feels very disconnected, very difficult, very traumatic, and almost impossible to manage, and we can't see our way through the mess. So I just thought this would be a good chance for whoever's out there watching or listening who may need to hear that it is going to be okay. Truly, it's going to be okay. One of the things that I teach within Mojo School, and is my purpose and my passion, and I'm constantly trying to practice it myself, obviously, is dropping down into a space where you can understand your own feelings, your bodily feelings that come up, that then trigger behaviours. And you constantly are in this feedback loop of observing and understanding and navigating and managing these, what's the word I'm looking for? These intense sensations, because emotions are intense, and good emotions, or what we think of as pleasant emotions, are just as intense as unpleasant emotions and feelings. But they are just that. They are the weather. They are things that come and go, depending on what we're experiencing. And they are tools that we need to learn to work with and embrace and find some gratitude for, and understand that growth and being able to grow and expand and evolve comes through challenging times, and comes through unpleasant sometimes and difficult bodily sensations. And if you are working in the arena, or you've experienced any kind of therapeutic intervention, you are likely to have come across this concept that we build these parameters. And I have a whole course on this in Mojo School. We build these parameters for safety seeking and to live within, that make us feel safe, but quite often that's a prison and these comfort zones we sit in. And, you know, some of the most amazing experiences and people and things lie just beyond that comfort zone, and we never get to experience them because we're too afraid and we're too locked in. And especially in the West, when we have an uncomfortable sensation in the body, we run away from it, or we repress it, or we distract ourselves from it. I don't like to feel that. I don't like it. Not good. It feels horrible. Whereas if we can kind of get to know our bodies a bit more and our internal barometers and our signals, we can understand that we can start moving into instead of away from. We can start moving into these things and experience them so that they can move through, and we can extract the lessons and the learning. And trust me, there's always a lesson and a learning. That's why these experiences come up for us, so that we can learn, so that we can move through and move beyond and into a different space. And the irony is when we don't move into that and we don't have these learnings and experiences, we stay trapped in the places we don't want to be, and then we stay trapped in those sensations. So my whole life's work is around helping people build toolkits and understand this process and support people in navigating their own personal journeys and what that looks like for them. And we're in this space where everybody individually is going through this for whatever reason, and a whole lifetime of stacked experiences which give you a specific filter or a specific lens that's different to everybody else. So we all have our own individual, unique stories and journeys and paths. But at the moment, we also have this huge collective story and this huge global collective journey that we're moving through. And anybody who works in the kind of the energetic space, whether that's 0 point field, quantum physics side, or the more spiritual version of that, because it's all the same thing, you'll be aware that this is kind of been coming for a long time now. This whole shift needs to happen so that we can move to a different space, because one period of time it happens all the time. You see it throughout history. There's big conflict when something needs to end and something else needs to grow. So we're in that space now, and it's an exciting time to be alive, although it doesn't feel it, because we are going to be witnessing and we're part of this shift in consciousness. And so many more people are starting to question things and starting to, have new experiences and new viewpoints and new thinking, and starting to, I hate the word wake up and woken up. It just doesn't, because again, that's been given kind of quite negative connotations, but it does feel like that, being liberated from past constraints and actually feeling like a veil's lifted and your eyes are open. You think, oh, that's not what I thought. This is different and I need to understand it better. And that's great, because that's what we need. We need more people. But what happens is the fear that goes with that immediately pings people back into a space that's safe, which isn't actually safe. It's in a space that's really detrimental to health, but you've been made to believe that it's safe. So we ping back and we don't want to look at exploring anything that could be different and new. And this is where we are now. And this is why everyone's feeling so rough and frightened and overwhelmed, because there's multiple things happening. Everyone's overworked, everyone's underpaid, there are no resources. You can see from the news that the cost of living crisis is not really, that if there's massive record profits being made in certain spaces, there isn't really a cost of living crisis. There's a cost of profit crisis. So it's just different thinking needs to take place. And we're all locked in this awful space where we can't do anything about it, or we feel like we can't do anything about it, and we have no control. Because we have multiple sources of information telling us that we have no control and there's nothing we can do about it. And if we do feel too bad or too sick, then we just need to go and get somebody to fix us, or go and get medicated, or go and have this intervention, or stop behaving that way, because getting happy and healthy and doing things differently is not good for you. So just do it this way, the way we tell you to do it. And we have this perpetuating cycle, which more and more people are breaking free from, but it's very, very difficult to hold that line. And for those of you who are at the pointy end and you're doing things similar to my spaces of work, it's tough, and it's quite lonely and isolating, and you have to have a lot of nerve, and you have to really be able to stand in that truth and have the courage of your convictions and just hold the line and know that people are needing the support that you can give. But as I've learned the very, very hard way over the years, you have to plug yourself in first and foremost. You have to put your oxygen mask on. You have to fill up your cup. And the space that I'm moving into is to try and now help the helper, heal the healer, teach the teacher, and provide those tools and resources for the people on the front line who are doing this work and supporting and helping people through this uncomfortable process. A good friend of mine, if you are listening, you may be listening, I don't know, says it quite often when I go into a healing therapeutic space that's facilitated by them. If you can feel it, you can heal it. So we need to move into these spaces of actually feeling the things that maybe we've avoided and repressed and distracted ourselves from. And there are ways to do that. And I'm really, really, the whole platform that I've created, Mojo School, it's not out there as much as I would have liked it to have been by now, because this is the time that it's really needed. But for various reasons, I'm kind of unable to get it quite out to the masses yet, but it's there. It's there for anyone who needs it, for anyone who wants it. We're looking at various ways to be able to fund that process so that cost isn't a barrier. At the moment, cost is a barrier for everybody, including me. But it's there, and it's time will come, and when it's needed, it's there and it's built. And I've been working on a whole therapeutic model to go alongside that, which I'll be launching soon, which is hopefully going to make a big difference to people. Having various modalities and a whole process to go through with a whole set of resources. So lots of really quite deep therapeutic spaces that will facilitate that journey through, rather than just thinking, I'm on my own, I don't know what's happening. So yeah, watch this space for that one. But what I would kind of like to just sort of touch on before I leave you to have as restful and peaceful day as you possibly can through the chaos, is that the tide is changing, and there are amazing things being done all over the world by amazing people. And I think the reason that I'm able to kind of hold my space is having that knowledge and having that faith that things are changing and people are doing good things. And I've recently been to Amersham near Oxford for a big global gathering. Some incredible people doing incredible things, and all with the same kind of mindset, same values and vision and ethics, and doing really pioneering and innovative pieces of work all over the world when it comes to education, social care, health, all of the systems that are now quite harmful. Many of us have realised that we can't fight from the inside. We can't fight from the outside because they're too big and they don't want to change. We also can't get into the inside and change things from the inside, because, as you see from people who are really great people who try to do that, they get swallowed up and spat out. I've tried both ways and recognised relatively early on that they weren't going to work. So the key, in my opinion, and many others, is to create sustainable parallel structures. So structures that run alongside what we're used to, but do a far better job, a far healthier job. Unfortunately, these things are very not funded, because obviously the funding needs to go into the places that don't work, but that make lots of money. So that's a constant juggle, but some incredible resilient people who know what they're here to do and are doing it really well. So we have all these brilliant parallel structures popping up all over the world that, my own version's 10 years in, so they're not new pie in the sky ideas. They're very grounded, they're data driven, and they're grounded in evidence, and they work. And they're ready to scale up and grow. So when people are ready, and when things really can't continue in that space, there are incredible spaces that are already doing amazing things when it comes to education. It's fit for everybody. When it comes to health, understanding what health means, what wealth means. So this new space is here, it's there, it's just in little pockets, like a little jigsaw piece or a little tapestry that's being built. And it will all come together and it will all be okay. It's just a process now that we have to go through to get to that point. And there's always challenge with that. But yeah, I can't, there's not too much detail I can give you, because I would have to do a whole separate podcast just on that. But there's lots of amazing things and amazing people who are ready to be that support and who are ready to drive forward. So, so help is there. Help is on the way. Things are being done. And there's lots of people in the background and underneath the surface working on this kind of approach. So, it's there. There is hope, and all is not lost. So whether that brings you any comfort or not, I don't know, but I hope it does. And I have a couple of little tips for you. The whole point of this podcast is to help you build this toolkit and help you to think differently and maybe shift your opinion about certain things. But have that practical daily toolkit so that you can feel better in the immediate space. So this is what I want. This is my intention for anybody out there listening. So some top tips on how to do that. Rewatch this podcast. We're on episode, 33, 34 now. So rewatch the podcast in your own time, or have a listen, stick your earbuds in, go for a walk, get into nature, get some air, and listen, because there has been an incredible series of topics and some incredible guests and people who are doing great things. And each person has brought a different tool into the space that you can maybe use or try in your daily life to help yourself feel better. So it's a good idea to do, and it's free. So have a listen of this whole series and see what you can extract that will help you. Some of the conversations and the thinking around change that might give you a little bit of hope. That's my first tip. My second tip is music medicine. Music medicine, no matter what's going on, you can always change your emotional state through vibrational medicine and music. It's one of my big passions in all kinds of different ways, from sound healing with therapeutic sound healing to gigs and huge big music medicine arenas where this collective energy is raised and people are storytelling and helping experience and shift through emotions. It's really powerful, and again, it's something that's free. And we have the Art of Feeling Better Spotify playlist, so go and have a listen to that. Get it on, put it on loud in your house while you're doing whatever you're doing, or stick your headphones on and again, get out and get into a different space and have a listen. Some incredible feel-good tunes that everybody has chosen that make them feel good and that make them feel better. They might just work for you, so have a listen to that. Another tip that I would give you is there are some what's called somatic tools, and I'm by no means a somatic specialist, but I have certain tools in my toolkit that I use when I'm working with people who need it. And this is to support kind of your bodily feelings when they get a bit too much. If cognitive stuff, the CBT, the thought reframing doesn't work and you just can't access any rational thoughts because you're feeling too frazzled and overwhelmed, there are some body-based somatic tools you can use. And a couple of good ones are, there's one good one that I like, which is you would sit in a comfortable position. I'm on the floor, so it's not as easy. And you will raise your hands and your feet while you say the words, I am. And then you'll put them flat down and you say the word safe. And just repeat that a few times. I am safe. And notice that grounding feeling as you connect with the table, with the floor, with the earth, wherever you are. I am safe. Okay, the simple one. Again, it's free. There's another one that you can do, which I tend to use quite often. Just orienting to your space, and you need to use a whole range of movements of your head, your neck and your eyes. Wherever you are, just look in all corners of the room with your head and your neck. Look behind you as far as you can, in both directions. Try and use that whole range of motion for your head, your neck and your eyes. And you can again repeat the mantra to yourself. I am safe. I am safe. I am okay. And that also will help you just to sink down a little bit and regulate the nervous system slightly. There's a few more things you can do, and it's worth looking up polyvagal theory and some tools around that, around the vagus nerve can be really helpful. There's also one breathing exercise that I'd like to teach you, because your breath is also free. You don't need anybody else to do that. There's loads of really cool breath work out there. If anything, that's probably the biggest tool that you can use that can really make a difference in your life. So I would, at Google, have a little look, see what you can find. One technique I use often myself, it works for me. It may or may not work for you. I've shared it quite a lot of times, and everybody that I shared it with has said it's helped. And it's a really quick and easy breathing exercise, and it's based on the theory that your exhale needs to be at least twice as long as your inhale. When you're shallow breathing and you're inhaling a lot, it's that adrenaline really gets pumping, and we don't want any more adrenaline. We've got too much. We need to kind of cut that off, and we need to get out of that space and get back into the parasympathetic nervous system instead. So if you can think about, I call it balloon breathing or anchor breathing. And if you can imagine you're inflating a giant balloon inside your chest. Pick a colour if it helps as well. Massive balloon, and you want to do it really quickly, as if you are about to hold your breath, but really inflate and fill your lungs up. So a huge big breath in to fill that balloon up. And then you're going to imagine that you're blowing a balloon up on the outside. Again, pick a colour if it helps. But that balloon is really super tight and difficult to blow up. So it takes you a while, and it will help you focus your out breath to be really, really, really long and slow. And if I do that 3 or 4 times, I can literally now switch state completely from being in fight or flight to back out again. And it really helps me because I've used it for years. But yeah, big breath in. And I can make that really, it just goes on. I don't want to bore you, but if you can make that breath super, super, super long, and you can feel your muscles melting, you can drop your shoulders and soften your jaw as you're breathing out, and it's a good one. Makes a big difference. So just try it. See if it works for you. So there's a couple of things that you can do in real time that might help you. And another thing that you can do is, it's Christmas season. It's time for cozying up with a blanket, hot chocolate, watch a movie. And I've got a couple of movie recommendations for you. And they're animated movies, and I think they're really cool. And they're worth having a watch or a rewatch if you haven't already. And there's 2 sort of competing versions of this. You've got Ants and you've got A Bug's Life. Lovely little thing. You can watch them with kids, watch them with a family. Good movies, feel-good movies, interesting stories. And I would suggest pick one and watch it or rewatch it, and just watch. Just watch and enjoy, and see if you can extract some learning out of these really cool animated feel-good movies. That's my kind of last tip of the day. And just take care. just take care and breathe and try and, find some gratitude in your experience at the moment in any way you can, because it's a rough ride. I see you, I hear you, I feel you. It's tough, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, and we're all going to come out the other side, and things are going to be very different. And I think if we can get out of that space, that awful kind of societal and media manipulation space of being pitched against each other for our views, classic psychology. It is what it is. It's been used for a long time, but there's a saying, isn't there, about shaking the jar of ants. You have the red ants and the black ants all quite happy in a jar together. You shake the jar, the ants kill each other. But it's not about the opposing ant groups. It's about who's shaking the jar. So just have a think about that while you're watching the news and while you're seeing all the rows that are happening on social media. Just explore that concept a little bit, that, it's not about having a different opinion to your next door neighbour or someone on Facebook that's pissed you off and you feel like you need to comment, or the family down the road, or the opposing political group, or someone who supports a different football team or likes a different genre of music or just has a different opinion to you. That's what keeps us locked in this space of fight. That's the fight part of fight or flight. Make everyone afraid that the other person is causing the trouble. Smoke and mirrors, distraction, deflection from the real problem. You need to kind of get into the spaces where we have our tools to help us breathe, get out of that fight or flight space and into logical, critical thinking, so that we can understand that the people are not the problem. We're not the problem. And we need to understand that a little bit more, I think. And we need to find ways to put our differences to one side and understand that difference is okay. It's fine. We are safe in those we should be safe in those differences. We should be able to coexist and have different opinions and not constantly need to prove one's right and one's not, because everyone has their own truth and their own reasons, their own filters. And it's when we can put those things to one side, that's when a change will happen. That's going to make the difference, when we can understand that we have a new way to do things just waiting on the horizon. We just need to get past this tricky bit and these thoughts, feelings and behaviours that manifest in society. Get past that bit, we can absolutely do anything. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Whatever you're doing, try not to work too hard, try not to think too hard, try to just be, try to just breathe and use whatever tools you need to look after yourself and find a little bit of peace. And I will see you next week for the next episode, when I have a lovely guest who's going to share some more tips and some more hints and some more perspectives for you. So bye for now. Take it easy.